Hello everyone! Do you want to learn how to read music? In this video, I will teach you how to read the notes and the basics of the treble and bass clef. Let's learn together what are the notes and how we write and read them. Music is made up from fixed sounds. Many instruments, as well as the human voice, play around these sounds, which are called notes. The 5 lines on which music is written are known as the stave. The lines and spaces between them are counted from the bottom as it follows: the first line, the second line, the third line, the fourth line, and on the top the 5th line. We have to make sure that we also know how to find the spaces. So from the bottom, first space, second space, third space, and fourth space. The musical notation uses the first 7 letters of the English alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The notes move up and down on the stave. Each line and each space represent a note, so there are 9 notes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 notes. So which are these notes? To answer this question, a sign called a clef is placed at the beginning of every stave. There are several different clefs in Western music notation, but one of the most common ones is the treble clef, which is also known as the G clef, because it starts on the line of the G note above the middle C, as shown here. Now let's try to write the musical alphabet on the treble clef and see how it looks like. We have the A note, the B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it starts again, A, and repeats. So which instruments use the treble clef? The treble clef shows the higher pitched notes, and instruments such as flute, violin, trumpet all use the treble clef. For example, these are very high-pitched notes, a really high C, D, and E. If you haven't seen our video about the basics of rhythm, you can watch it now or after this video. The other very popular and common clef in music is the bass clef, which is also known as the F clef, because it starts on the line of the F note below the middle C note. Let's have a look at how the musical alphabet will look like on the bass clef. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it repeats again. The bass clef shows the lower pitched notes, and instruments such as bassoon, tuba, and cello all use the bass clef. In this example, we can observe a very low C, a B, and an A note. What about piano music? Piano music uses 2 staves bracketed together called the grand stave. How do we read this? Usually the top stave on the treble clef is for the right hand and the lower stave on the bass clef is for the left hand. When necessary, both hands may play on either stave and both staves may use either clef. Middle C will be the same for either clef as shown here. In this example, we can observe how the middle C is the same for both clefs, although for the bass clef is on the top part of the stave, and for the treble clef it's on the lower part of the stave. Here we can observe how the higher the pitches are on the stave, the higher they will sound, and the lower the pitches go on the bass clef, the lower they will sound. La, la, la. What if we want to go higher or lower on either of the staves? Or what if the treble clef wants to play notes on the bass clef? We use the so-called ledger lines, which help us go outside the stave and have more than 9 notes in total. So in this case, we can observe a very high A, B, C, and D, and a very low E, D, C, and B. and some pitches in between, which are exactly the same but written in a different way. How do we learn the notes? This is the big question these days. How do we memorize them, and what do we do to make sure that we learn them efficiently? Some memorize the notes, dividing them by lines, as you can see here. And some make up different words from these letters to memorize the order of the notes. For example, here we might have "Every good boy deserves fudge." On the spaces, it is very common use to remember the notes with this word, which is formed between the letters F, A, C, and E, or face.
Hello.
Let's have a look at the bass clef. It will be exactly the same because the order of the notes is the same. So for the bass clef, we will have "Every good boy deserves football always," or you can make up your own interesting sentences. And for the notes in the spaces, we'll have again face and G and B. Personally, I like to memorize the notes on their own without this kind of words and sentences, because sometimes when you play music, you have to make sure that you know each note on its own rather than put it together in a word or in a musical sentence, which takes time. Memorizing the notes the same way as you memorize the letters of the alphabet or a language makes much more sense. Subscribe to our channel because I'm currently creating a few tutorials on how to practice and memorize the notes in a more efficient and fun way. The last thing we're going to learn today are what are the semitones in music. The smallest interval or the space between the notes on the piano and other classical instruments, it's called a semitone. Therefore, in between some of the notes of the musical alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, there are also the so-called flats and sharps, giving us a palette of 12 different notes in total. Let's have a look on how these 12 notes look on the piano, for example. The piano, as you all may know, is made of white and black keys. We discussed the white keys until now, and now we're looking at the black keys. So let's have a look at the C note. The C note has a black key in between the C and the D. So if we're looking at that C note going to the right, we'll call the black key C sharp. The same thing applies to D. When you get to the E, there is a gap. There is no black key there. So we have to make our F the sharp because it's the closest key to the E. And I mentioned we go to the right to find our sharps. So the E sharp will be the F sharp will be the black key, the G sharp will be the black key, the A will be the A sharp on the black key, and the B sharp will be our C note. Once you have exercised and learned that as a structure, it will be fairly easy to talk about intervals and scales. What about the flats? The flats are on the left side of the keys. So the first key to the left on the D will be the D flat. The first key on the left to the E will be the E flat. And if you want to have an F flat, you go to the E because there is a gap in between. The G flat will be next to the G. The A will be to the left to the A flat. The B will be to the left to the B flat. And the C flat will be the B note. The best way to practice the notes is repetition. Just as you're practicing a new language and learning letter by letter the new alphabet. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to our channel.